let's take a look at the use of an employee portfolio in workforce planning and development. An employment portfolio maps the types of employees based on the strategic value and uniqueness of their contributions. The strategic value of certain positions influences whether a company will retain those positions internally or turn to an external labor source for them. Uniqueness influences the types of relationships that companies have with different groups of employees. In combination, the potential contributions of these two variables result in four types of employment groups: core employees, job-based employees, contract workers, and alliance or partners. In addition, four different approaches to HR investments emerge to manage each group: commitment-based, productivity-based, compliance-based, and collaborative-based HR systems. Based on their highly unique and valuable contributions, core employees are most likely to contribute directly to a firm's core competencies on the basis of what they know and how they use that knowledge. As a result, these employees tend to be employed internally and treated as core workers in whom companies invest in their long-term success. The HR system used to manage these employees involves a process that supports commitment-based HR systems. For example, a company may invest extensively in the development of core employees' competencies, empower them to use their competencies in the performance of their jobs, and encourage their full participation in decision-making on the job. Likewise, a firm might offer long-term incentives like stock ownership, extensive benefits, and so forth to ensure that its core employees receive continued and useful feedback and adopt a long-term orientation to help the company achieve success. In addition to core employees, job-based employees also create value for firms. Thus, the positions these individuals hold tend to be held within the firm. However, because these employees do not contribute to a unique manner to the firm, they are likely to be a fairly large number of them in the external labor market. As a result, companies do not have the same level of incentive to extensively invest in job-based employees' long-term development, well-being, and retention as they do for core employees. Rather, managers are likely to rely on a productivity-based HR system, a system that involves standardized jobs and selecting people from the external labor market who can contribute immediately in those jobs. The types of rewards and incentives that are used for employees in positions such as these tend to focus on efficiency and productivity improvements. And of course, companies are less likely to expend a great deal of money to develop people in these positions. Instead, they're more likely to emphasize a short-term, results-oriented performance management system. When the tasks a firm needs to be done are neither strategically valuable nor unique, the company may turn to contract workers to do these tasks. Because of the limited uniqueness in these employees' contributions, external workers are often used to perform these tasks. And, with limited strategic value, these employees do not contribute as much as core and job-based employees, and there is usually a good supply of them in the external labor market. When managing contract workers, firms tend to emphasize compliance-based HR systems, systems that focus on meeting present rules, regulations, and procedures. For example, these systems focus on short-term productivity and the efficient performance of the tasks in a limited scope, purpose, or duration. The job descriptions for positions such as these are likely to be standardized, and the training and performance management for these positions, if conducted, is likely to be limited to ensure that the company's policies, systems, and procedures are met. In addition, the compensation for employees in these positions is likely to be based on hourly wages and the accomplishment of specific goals or tasks. The fourth group of employees are those who make unique contribution, but whose contributions are limited in terms of strategic value. Because the contributions of these employees are not directly central to a firm's strategy, companies often look externally for these individuals. However, the contributions of these individuals are also unique to the company. While companies may be reluctant to invest in these alliance partners directly, there is investment in the relationship with these individuals. To manage this group of employees, companies focus on establishing a collaborative-based HR system and turn to the external labor on a long-term basis through alliances and partnerships. Many companies are under pressure to keep their HR costs down. From a strategic perspective, not all forms of employee contributions are equally critical to the company's success. While there are certainly many ways a firm can structure and manage its employment portfolio, adopting an architectural perspective helps managers make decisions regarding the level of investment in different employee groups to align their potential contributions with the long-term success of the company. Although there are a variety of ways to evaluate HR systems, one approach that has gained tremendous popularity is to build an HR scorecard. An HR scorecard helps assess the degree to which the links within HR systems and the contributions employees make to their firms actually help them realize a competitive advantage. To create an HR scorecard, you need to take the following steps. First, identify your firm's strategic performance drivers. Second, evaluate your firm's external alignment. Strategic performance drivers are the activities that enable a company to realize the potential of its source of competitive advantage. Companies pursuing a low-cost leadership strategy, for example, rely on operational excellence and cost control to attain or maintain their position of cost leadership. Some key strategic performance drivers might be improved operational efficiency, reduced overhead, and increased productivity. HR deliverables are what is needed from the firm's HR activities or the mechanism by which an HR system creates value for a company. Consider the strategic performance driver high-quality customer service. To realize high levels of customer service, companies need to attract and retain talented employees who are able to build and sustain long-term relationships with customers. As a result, the HR deliverables for the strategic driver of high-quality service might be employment stability and high-quality employees. Similarly, consider the strategic performance driver increasing new product offerings. What types of HR deliverables would you need for this driver? Employee collaboration and creativity could be the HR deliverables that would enable companies to realize a strategic performance driver of new products. A third step in aligning the HR scorecard is to evaluate the degree of alignment between the firm's HR practices and its HR deliverables, as well as to evaluate the degree of alignment among various HR practices themselves. One of the key objectives of the third step of the HR system evaluation process is to determine whether the practices you are using for your company's HR practices, work design and workforce planning, managing employee competencies, and managing employee attitudes and behaviors, are helping or hurting the achievement of your firm's HR deliverables. This type of evaluation is easy to conduct. It's important to evaluate the alignment among a firm's HR practices themselves. As we've discussed, it's possible that the failure to achieve a firm's HR deliverables is due to negative synergies or deadly combinations among a company's HR practices. As a result, it's important to continually assess the ability of your HR system to meet your company's changing needs. Conducting such an evaluation is not enough, however. You must also think about what to do with the information you acquire during the evaluation. Often, this involves reassessing and redesigning the practices you use to manage your employees so they contribute more to your organization's competitive advantage. An HR scorecard is also an excellent starting point for redesigning how you manage your employees. You can use an HR scorecard to effectively redesign your HR system by doing the following: customizing your HR scorecard, being consistent, being specific, and following up on the implementation of redesign. The first step in using your HR scorecard is to redesign your HR system and customize your firm's HR scorecard by following the 3 steps outlined earlier. Take a moment to identify the source of your company's competitive advantage. A key point to remember is that much of the success of HR systems comes down to consistency. The presence of powerful connections or deadly combinations rests directly on the degree of alignment among your HR practices. In other words, you need to be sure that all the practices used to manage your employees reinforce rather than counteract one another. If employees are assigned to teams, for example, your performance management and incentive systems should involve a team component. Employees need to have a clear understanding of what it is they need to do to help their company succeed. In many ways, the various practices we've talked about in this course may be viewed as communication between management and employees. Practices determine the competencies of the workforce, how employees are expected to interact, as well as how they act in performance of their jobs. One predominant part of understanding HR system effectiveness is that companies use different practices in an attempt to elicit needed role behaviors from employees, given different considerations regarding strategy, technology, and the like. Just because a company designs a particular HR policy doesn't mean the policy will be carried out as it should. In other words, what should be done might not be what is actually done. This discussion highlights an important component of implementation. A company must take the time to help its managers understand how to implement a practice. Failure to follow up on the actual implementation of the policies that are intended to be used to help realize employee contributions will dramatically decrease their effectiveness in improving company performance.